Hey guys, how you going? This is Hold the Ball HCB, and I have a very special guest with me, someone you may have obviously seen a few times around the block, but I'm with Warriors NRL Fanatics. So, hey dude, thanks again for jumping on, and for those who'll be watching and yet to watch, look, we're going to be discussing all things international rugby league, and I suppose why it's such a miss. We've got, as you know, an NRL sort of week with no NRL, right? And it's crazy. So, hey, if you wanted to sort of take the lead, NRL Fanatics, you can go for it. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for allowing me to come on your channel, as you guys know already. And I had Hold the Ball on from my channel as well on previously. So, yeah, I mean, look, NRL this week, look, it's a bit, disappointing to not have any games, but, and with the RIP World Cup coming up at the end of the year, the Rugby League World Cup was supposed to be scheduled to be happening. No footy on this weekend, which is a bit disappointing. They could have had some international games on. I'm not sure. Maybe it's due to the COVID, because it's difficult with the COVID situation at the moment. So, but look, there's been a lot of other sporting events happening, and could still try and organise something. I mean, look, I know COVID's a bit of a mess and all that, but they could have at least tried to get some games on this week in terms of the international scene, because, I'm strong. I'm very strong on the international game. I wanted to see it grow. State of origin. I don't, personally as a Kiwi, I'm not bothered to state of origin. I like the state of origin. I like to watch it. I like to follow Queensland. Obviously, I'm a Queensland Maroons fan. You guys might not know already, but I'm big on the international game. The international game needs to grow, and we need to see more national rugby league, in my opinion. So, yeah, I personally think, they should have had someone like Tonga or Fiji or, Samoa. They should have had some of those island teams, Pacific Island teams play. Big respect to the Pacific Islands rugby league teams. Samoa, Fiji. I love to watch them play. They're great for the game. It's great to have Fiji, Tonga, Samoa. Be up. Just to compete with those teams like Australia, England. And New Zealand. And yeah, I think you have to see the international game grow. The international game needs to grow. I'm massive on it. Like I've said it. The key year, it's very interesting to see how the Kiwis go at the Rugby League World Cup now. Obviously, I think Australia's still favourites. They're massive favourites. You look at the talent they've got at the moment. Got Tommy Trbojevic. You've got James Tedesco. You've got all those good players from Australia. And, they're going to be hard to beat at the Rugby League World Cup. And I think also, with England, you can't write off England as well. I know England, probably difficult for England because, to wait a while before they start their competition. And New Zealand Rugby League, obviously, the Warriors are struggling at the moment for consistency, but you got the likes of the NRL teams, you got the likes of all the Kiwi players and the Australian teams. They're doing well. We've got Fisher Harris. I think James Fisher Harris has had a phenomenal year so far. It's probably the Kiwi player of the year for me right now. Actually, James Fisher Harris for Penrith. I think he's in the season. So, yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the international game, I think it should have more games. I'm all for the international game. I want to see it grow, and I think Origin and the the international game. I know there's more talk of the state of origin, and the international game doesn't get much talk. Because it's representing your country more than representing the state or country. So I don't know what you think about this. My thoughts. I've got a strong opinion on it. New Zealand Rugby League, Tonga, Fiji, Australia, Samoa, all those island teams, and that's my thoughts on it. I don't know what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, you've definitely covered a vast sort of range of topics there that we can sort of dissect. But just quickly, you mentioned about the whole COVID thing. Now, I believe the International Rugby League Federation, who are the like the governors that overwatch everything international rugby league related, they had come out, I believe, early in the year and said there'll be no tests purely because of that. However, what a whole load of crap, especially when you have the NRL playing on a regular basis. What's the difference between NRL players playing, putting some of those players into their respective nations of heritage and having them play? There's literally no difference there. So I think they've ballsed up that one there. And he also made another note as well on International Rugby League. And as we know, it's Origin weekend. You know, it is what it is. However, what a huge miss that we haven't been able to see the talent or different talent sort of play and have a go at playing International Rugby League. As we speak, we've got I believe the New South Wales Cup, but the Fijian Silktails, right? They've got that's talent there. You could have put some NRL boys in there, some of them there, and then you could have grabbed some, say for example, Fiji versus the Kiwis. You could have had that game on a Friday, then on a Saturday you have Samoa versus PNG, and then you have Tonga versus Cook Islands on a Sunday. Easy as that, fixed. But instead, they've gone a different route, and with the Rugby League World Cup, as you mentioned, around the corner, what an absolute miss. Speaking of which as well, look, obviously it is Origin, and you touched on it. A lot of people say that it is the pinnacle. I believe the only reason why they say it's the pinnacle is because the investment that is made financially. There's a whole heap of money that is actually put into the arena. A lot. And but I think obviously in the long run, the reality is though, however, I think Origin is probably just a little size or a little bite size of the international game, because there's so many players who are playing there who I think will actually put on the different jersey at the World Cup. That's the reality, right? And I reckon if Origin allowed actually some Kiwis to actually play, you'll probably see some players who would play for Kiwis and play Origin, I think, in that case there. But look, that's probably my thoughts on it. Again, just a big, huge miss overall. I can't believe that this is the route they've gone, especially with the Rugby League World Cup around the corner. We could have been enjoying some very good footy this week, but instead, here we are talking about it with no games ahead. So, yeah, not pleased.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on the eligibility thing? With Queensland, New South Wales, in Australia, New Zealand, you got this is a big thing. I strongly so want to see some change, because we've got Queensland Maroons. You got someone like big example is Josh Papali. Now, Josh Papali's represented Australia, I believe. He's represented Australia. Yep. Now, he's a bit of I believe he's Tongan. Is he Tongan?
Samoan.
He's Samoan. He's Samoan. Right. So Samoan. No, okay. Yep. Sorry about that. But yeah. So I believe he's got a bit of Pacific, island heritage. And look, I think if you're from somewhere like Tonga, Fiji, you play for Australia, playing for the Queensland Maroons or play for New South Wales, I personally don't think you should be able to play for Queensland or New South Wales. You should be playing for Tonga, or you should be playing for Fiji. If you're from New Zealand, if you're playing for New Zealand, you're not playing for State of Origin, you're playing for Queensland or New South Wales or Australia. I don't think it's right. I don't agree with it. I know over the years it's been a big thing. With if you're from your Pacific Island, from Fiji or Tonga, you should be playing for your Pacific Fiji or Tonga, not playing for Australia, or Queensland, or New South Wales. I just don't agree with it. I really don't agree with it, the way it's run. The way the eligibility rules works. I don't actually agree with it. In my opinion, I just think it's ridiculous, to be honest. I just think it's ridiculous.
So do you think are you saying that it should be tighter, in that once you represent, say for example, Cook Islands, you can't play for New South Wales? Or are you saying it should be more flexible, so you can play for this and you can play for that?
No, what I'm trying to say is, with the way it is at the moment, you've got someone like I said, Papali.
Yep.
Or someone like James Tamo in the past, he's played for Australia. He's from New Zealand, but he's played for Australia. Lives in Australia, obviously. Yes, I know that. I understand that. But look, when you're someone like Josh Papali, or he's someone probably like a. I'll give an example here. Is maybe like a Semi Radradra. This might be a little bit off topic, but Semi Radradra, he's from Fiji, and I believe he's played a couple in Australia. If I'm not wrong, if I'm wrong, mistake me. But I believe he's played for Australia. But I don't think if you're from your country of birth, if you play for, let's say you do Australia and you're Fijian born and you live in Australia for a long time. I know they say you can play for Australia, represent Australia, or represent New South Wales or Queensland, wherever you're in the state, what state you're in. But I personally think, with the origin eligibles, I believe that New South Wales, if you're from New South Wales, you're born in New South Wales, you should be playing for New South Wales. If you're from Queensland and you're born in Queensland, you should be playing for Queensland. That's the way I see it. And same for other countries. If you're born in New Zealand, you play for New Zealand. You don't play for New South Wales or Australia or Queensland or all those states, countries. You should be for New Zealand. I know the Kiwis have had some Tongans play for Tonga, which I understand, but the other situation is if you're from Queensland, New South Wales, you should be born playing for those states, playing for that country, and in Australia. But I don't know. You're probably going to disagree with me here, or I'm not sure. But that's the way I see it. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, look. Before I go into what my opinion is, I'm just going to read what Dr. Kiwi has posted. So, hello, Dr. Kiwi. It says, I've gone off Origin over the years because it's bad for Test footy. I can't believe there are no games this weekend. We could have had a magic round of tests, not including Aussies, of course. Yeah, I agree. It's a big miss, as we both discussed. So thanks again for chipping in there. But just to sort of go off what you've just said. For me personally, I was staunch on it before. However, because of the fix, I guess because of the way society is, right? So, for example, you can be born in, say, New South Wales, right? Raised in a, I don't know, let's say, for example, Italian household or Pacific household, whatever. And then you identify as such. So then you put on that jersey. So I get what you mean. The only issue, though, is that at the end of the day, though, all these things only help Australia, you see, because Australia will dangle that Origin carrot to anyone who was born in New Zealand, you see. If you're good enough, you can make Origin, but if you're not, then you play Kiwis, and it's just sending such a toxic message, I guess, to New Zealand Rugby League, and that if you can make Origin, then just forget about Kiwis, because there's actually some Kiwi juniors playing in Origin right now. That you actually used to play for the Kiwis in the junior scene, and now they're playing against each other. Luai is one, and Footwaker is another. And and I get again, Luai's case. Sorry, just quickly, and I get Luai's case being born in New South Wales, whatever. I get it, but again, it just shows you that as soon as you've donned that Kiwi jersey at a young age, if you still believe that you're good enough to play Origin, if they see, then they'll just give it to you. And as soon as you play Origin, they say you can't play for New Zealand. So then New Zealand misses out on talent that they've actually bred, that they've actually taken care of, and all that's left is just these players who are now playing Origin, and New Zealand misses out at the end. And you talk about players who are born, well, again, being born, say, for example, in New Zealand and growing up in Australia, sort of similar to Tamo and stuff. But I think personally, what I'm trying to get at is that in Origin, I think they should make it flexible for the Kiwis as well. That's what I think, honestly, because New Zealand just, I think, gets their place taken away. A lot of their good players have been taken away. I can go in the history of the game, how many Kiwis have represented New South Wales and Queensland. And I think the Origin piece is, I think, the carrot stick that takes away. So from where I stand and my position, I only disagree with you solely because I think it's so flexible. You're going to get so many players who are going to want to play here, play there. And that's just the way society is now, very much a melting pot of different cultures, different experiences, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, that's where I stand. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it overall. So over to you, man.
Yeah. Fair enough. That at the end of the day, what I was trying to get is, the Origin. If they try and make it flexible, like you said, like Yeah, I mean New Zealand. New Zealand Rugby League. I believe it's in an interesting position right now. I think with the I don't know. Probably they've a lot to the COVID situation. Probably they've lost a lot of money, but with New Zealand Rugby League, I've strongly said it. New Zealand Rugby League, it's near it needs to be, in my opinion. I don't think it's near where it needs to be right now. Australia Rugby League is still strong. It's game because you got the stadium, already got the NRL clubs. It's just in a stronger position. Junior Rugby League as well in Australia is much stronger. Believe it or not,
Way strong.
You might disagree, but I'm sure a lot of people agree that New Zealand Rugby League's not where it needs to be. Yeah.
Yep. Can I sort of give you a quick example of what I mean? So, for example, before Kalen Ponga donned on the Queensland jersey, I think it was 2017 or 16, the Kiwis actually invited him to a camp, you see? And he was there and he was training. And I think we were just trying to entice him to put on that black jersey, right? He ultimately turned it down because of Queensland, right? Like nothing can compare to that. And what I'm trying to say is that if the rules made it so that Kalen Ponga can play for Kiwis and play for Queensland, I'm pretty certain he would have played for the Kiwis, because then he knows that at the back of his mind, he's still got that, that origin to be part of. You see? But I think what happens is that it's either origin and every other country bar New Zealand. And I think that's how New Zealand misses out big time. And just quickly to go over the grassroots, well, I agree with you. Grassroots league in New Zealand is not great. I believe that's why Gus Gould hopefully can sort of not only just be a consultant for the Warriors, but hopefully get his hands into the rugby league scene in New Zealand as well. And I think he'll hopefully do a good job there. But look, just that Kalen Ponga thing as well. And even Reece Walsh too. I reckon Reece Walsh as well. The Kiwis knocked on his door. They asked him the same thing, and again, and I think even Luai was the same as well. Luai would have been the same. Like, there's so many examples of players who would have been happy to don the black jersey, but won't, because as soon as they put it on, they can't play in Origin. So I think Origin needs to really. We want the game to grow. We, for example, NRL love seeing the Kiwi talent play. That includes Pacifica talent, but they don't want to do anything to help feeling out. When New Zealand needs a hand, they won't. And I think hopefully with the influx of different players from different backgrounds coming into Origin, hopefully they may persuade them to look at New Zealand and hhopefully, just allow New Zealanders to play in Origin, because, we've missed out on a few talents actually just because we're not Australian. We're Kiwi. So, look, what are your thoughts on that? But I think it's just crucial there. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with your point there. I really do. I mean, look, actually spot on. I believe, with New Zealand Rugby League, there's not much, in terms of, when a player wants to play for a certain state, like Queensland or New South Wales, they've got the option of playing for New Zealand. They obviously want to choose the state over New Zealand, which, personally, look, if you're from New Zealand, born in New Zealand, obviously, you should be playing for New Zealand, not wanting to play for Queensland or New South Wales. But because State of Origin is such a massive game, such a massive, massive thing in Australia, sport, people want to play State of Origin. They don't want to play for an international team like New Zealand or, they don't want to play for Tonga. They want to state. They want to represent the state.
And why would they?
That's the way it's going.
And why? Sorry, just quickly. And why would they, when New Zealand only plays about 1 or 2 games every 4 years? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Exactly.
Like, sorry, you go on, but it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd rather see players, want to play for their country, not choosing Origin over their country. I mean, look, Origin is Origin. It's a state. You're representing a state in Australia. New Zealand, Australia, Tonga, you're representing your country. You're the country you're born in, the country your heritage is from. That's my thoughts on it, because at the end of the day, you've got a World Cup at the end of the year. Going back on the World Cup sort of thing here, but you want to play for your country. If I was playing for New Zealand, I want to play for New Zealand. If I was born in New Zealand, even if I was living in Queensland, I'd want to play for New Zealand. It's simply, I would not want to play for Queensland, in my opinion. I'd just rather play for my country. That's the way I see it from my point of view. But, a lot of players have different views. They'd rather, play for State of Origin because they watch State of Origin on TV. This is a pure example of it. They've watched it probably through their childhood. They've seen Queensland, New South Wales because it's such a big game. They want to put on that blue jersey or they want to put on that maroon jersey, represent their state. But, like I said, I'm strong on the international game. I've said it a lot of times already. I repeat myself. Sorry about that. But, Queensland, New South Wales, if you're from Queensland, New South Wales, represent Queensland, New South Wales. If you have that option of wanting to play New Zealand or Australia or, all those countries, Tonga, I'd be picking my country instead. I'd be picking the country over the state, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah, and also, want to level on that Ponga, when you talked about Ponga, Kalen Ponga, because, given that opportunity to play for New Zealand, he turned it down. He wanted to play for Queensland. Yeah. Look, Kalen Ponga apparently, he's been living in Australia for a long time. I'm not sure the whole story, but, a little bit of a thing on the footy show a couple of years ago or something. I'm not sure, but, they did a film on it. Kalen Ponga's parents, they're from New Zealand, and, there's also talks around, I don't know if there's still talks around about it, but Ponga, playing for the All Blacks one day, I'm not sure what goes there, but there's a lot of talk around it, because we're seeing lots of Roger Tuivasa skit,
Yeah, that's.
Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
No. I just want to elaborate on what you've said. That's right, and that's where the crossroads is, though, isn't it? It's in rugby league. I guess from a Kiwi context, it's going to be Origin, right? That's sort of the way they view it, right? Especially if you can play, you'll do that. But then in rugby union, it's the All Blacks. And isn't it funny though how, for example, Kalen Ponga won't play for the Kiwis because of Origin, but he'll go play for the All Blacks. And as Dr. Kiwi has said, it's been going. Brad Thorne's a prime example. In the league context, he's a Queenslander, right?
Definitely.
But when it comes to rugby, he does not want anything to do with the Wallabies. He wants nothing to do with them. He wants to play for the All Blacks, and it's so crazy, and it just shows you just how wrong it is, and why I think again New Zealand should. And I'll give you another example. Just last one. Jonathan Thurston, when he grew up, obviously I'm not sure if you know or not. His father was Kiwi. His father was from Whangarei. He actually wanted, or he was at a crossroads where he was thinking of playing for New Zealand before he played for Australia. But obviously, it wasn't the case, and so on and so forth. But I reckon had the rules been so flexible to the point that he could have played for Queensland and New Zealand, we probably could have got him. We possibly could have got him. You know what I mean? Like, what's to stop him from playing for Queensland and then playing for New Zealand? You see, like, there's just so many missed opportunities. Another one is, and there's so many missed opportunities. And look, it's just crazy. That's all I want to say. I just want to sort of reiterate just how crazy it is. Brad Thorne, Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
I guess just as quickly as well. So like an outlier was Josh Hoffman, and a sort of like a Queenslander, but he grew up and he played for the Kiwis. Do you remember him? Probably around the 2009 to like 12 era. He played for like the Broncos. His father was from New Zealand, so he played for you know what I mean? Like there's certain outliers like that. But I mean, in order for the Kiwis, for international games to grow, especially for New Zealand, I think New Zealand Origin just needs to be real and open up the doors to New Zealand, because hey, there's going to be more Kiwis, I reckon, playing Origin. That's the reality. There's going to be more Kiwi-born players playing for Origin as the years go by. You're going to have to open up that door sooner or later.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on there. Exactly right. I mean, like you said there, they need to do a bit more for the international game. I'm just not, with the whole Kiwi players, playing for Queensland, New South Wales, or look, I just think, if you're really strong and want to represent your country, you should be representing New Zealand, not turning that option down and saying, "Oh, look, I want to play for Queensland, I want to play for New South Wales." If you want that offer, you got to take it. You got to take that and represent it, because the country for me is more important than representing the state of where you live. Or
yeah, look, I agree. I guess the next question then that sort of beckons is, should New Zealand Rugby League sort of try and do something that can entice, just like a Kiwi sort of thing, for those who are born, like, it doesn't matter if you're born in New Zealand, you represent Samoa or Fiji or Tonga, whatever, but should New Zealand try and look to create their own thing, again, not origin related, but say once a year you have like a Kiwis all-star game or something like that, just to somehow bring some sort of relevance into that representative sort of thing, to give players accolades. Like, should what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that's come across your mind, or probably not? That's just sort of me throwing my thoughts at you, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would like to see that happen. With the, you got something similar, like an Origin series. They should do like a North Island, or something like that, like a North Island, South Island sort of thing. I'd suggest something like that, because you could get the players from the north, and have South Island, something like that. I mean, you got something. You got the North Island players and the South Island players play for one team. Something like that. I reckon would be a great idea. Actually, I think it'd be a great idea. You can play it in all sorts of stadiums in New Zealand. You can take it to somewhere like you can play it in Napier, or you can play it somewhere or you can play it in somewhere around just not take it to just some one place in particular, or play it everywhere. Play it everywhere around New Zealand.
Yeah, I think they should do that. I think they should do that and have it like once a year. So it doesn't have to be like a 3-game series, just a one-off thing, sort of similar to like NBA All-Star, right? But except it's like a Kiwi thing. You get all those, like your Dalmaros, your Sean Johnsons, your Kieran Forens, you sort of put them in a team and they just play each other once a year. And then you can sort of give it to them as an accolade, as a representative honor sort of thing, like you do with Origin. Just something, because I think there's something that needs to be done, because I think as it keeps going, as more people prefer Origin over even the Kiwis, they're gonna keep falling behind. And look, I'm a Kiwis fan first, right? I'm black jersey first, but I've also got Tongan heritage, So for me, it's sort of like I like the Kiwis, but I like Tonga. But for me, where my heart lies personally is, obviously Kiwis League, but at the same time, I want to see Tonga do well, so on and so forth. But look, I think Kiwis League needs to do something. They need to try and sort of invent different ways, whether that's financial issue or not, I'm not sure, but I think there can be sort of ways that can show, sort of highlight Kiwi talent, New Zealand Rugby League talent, instead of having all that talent just go to Origin and put on the Kangaroos jersey. You know what I mean? So yeah, those sort of like my thoughts on it. I've got a question for you though. So what just going back to the Rugby League World Cup, you touched on it. You said your thoughts are sort of like Australia, and look, for me personally, as a staunch Kiwi fan, I strongly disagree. But I think for me, look, I think this is probably the most open World Cup we're going to have in quite some time. I had this conversation in my previous interview with Ben, but it's no longer a Australian headline anymore. You know what I mean? I think this is quite literally a very open-ended sort of we just don't know what's going to happen here. What are your thoughts on the fact that this year's World Cup is going to be very open-ended, as opposed to probably heavily focused on probably the top 2 or top 3 nations?
Look, it could be open. It definitely could be open. I'm not saying it couldn't be, because with the way this year's gone, what the previous years have got, got last year, with the COVID situation, to go back on that, very difficult situation there. And, there's a couple of teams I do believe that can be up there. I know I've said Australia's going to be favourite in that. I don't think they'll probably be as big of a favourite as they are in the past. Actually, I'll lab on my previous comment about Australia in the earlier, but Yeah, I think, with New Zealand, New Zealand could definitely put their hand up. They could definitely challenge. I'm not big on Michael Maguire as a coach. Look, I personally am not a big
No,
fan of it, but
he's got to be.
I just
out.
look the
He
way.
needs to be kicked out. Wow,
Yeah,
he needs to be.
the
He
way the
needs.
West Tigers are going, yeah, way they're watching the West Tigers, Michael Maguire, and he's still finding it tough to get consistency there at the Tigers. And look, I'm not big on Michael Maguire. The only reason why they've got him there is because they haven't got anyone else, so they've appointed him. That's the only reason why they've appointed him. But it remains to be honest to do a good job or not. Obviously New Zealand's from a New Zealand fan perspective, the expectation for me for the Kiwis this year for the World Cup is, to get into that final.
Absolutely.
Probably win it, but look, I think if they get to the final, you've got to Maguire, maybe give him another year. I don't know, but look, I think the Kiwis for me, it's hard to say. It's hard to say as a Kiwi fan. I want to see them win the Rugby League World Cup because it's been too long since the last one won. The last, under Kearney, former Warrior coach Stephen Kearney, but Wayne Bennett was there. That was probably the main factor. That he was the main factor, not Stephen Kearney. I do apologise, but that's my opinion on it. I believe Stephen Kearney wasn't the main reason why we won the last World Cup. And you got the likes of England. Now England's an interesting one. Now, I don't follow too much England Rugby League. Now I've just started to follow the Super League this year. I've started to get on board with the Super League. Now I'm following. Cool. I found a team to follow. Yeah, I found a team to follow, and I'm following Hull FC. Yeah, okay. Hull FC is the team I'm following. I've been watching a bit of a Super League. It's quite an interesting competition, actually. It's not too bad. I don't mind it, It's a bit different from NRL strands, but yeah, it's not a bad comp. I actually don't mind the league, but it'll be interesting because England, they have, they've had that Super League competition, that just started not long ago. It was a bit of a delay to start their competition, but started up and running. They've got crowds starting to come back well. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. England have got a lot of talent in the NRL as well. They've got the likes of, George Williams. He's off back to England now. He's off back to the UK. You got Hodgson as well. Got some great English players. I reckon they'd give it a crack, actually. It's your home tournament too. So it's a home tournament for them. There'll be people, putting a lot of pressure on them to do well this year at the World Cup because they haven't won one in a while. England Rugby League World Cup, they haven't won one in a while. And the last time they made a final, they played Australia too, and that was a very close game actually. That game against Australia a couple of years ago, they were very close. They were beating Australia and upsetting them here in Oz, the World Cup. They could have won that one actually. So England, I wouldn't write off England's hopes. I wouldn't write them off completely. They've got a good chance, they've got a massive chance. I wouldn't be writing them off because they've got abundance of talent there, England. And I don't know what your thoughts are on England, but I believe they will be up there. And then you've got the likes of, Fiji. Fiji, that's an interesting one, Fiji, because the last World Cup they made the semi-finals, and the previous one to that they made a semi-final as well, I believe. So they made 2 semi-finals in a row, Fiji. So they're not far away. But, the only question mark I have with Fiji and Tonga is their halves, their halves combination. They've got the back line, they've got fast players, they've got the skillful, strong players. But with Fiji and Tonga, that's the only question mark I have is their halves, whether they can, challenge with the players they have to beat the likes of New Zealand, Australia, England, But, they're all capable on their day. Fiji and Tonga, they're capable on their day to be up there. That's just my thoughts. Those are the teams I reckon could be up there.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. Look, just as quickly as well before I start, I'm just going to read this here. So we've got Dr. Kiwi who said Kiwis are the biggest losers in the test scene. eligible players of Origin or Pacific teams first. Now we get what's left. Look, as I said before, as a staunch Kiwis fan, I agree. Obviously, I'm seeing a whole heap of Kiwi-born Tongans sort of go and play for Tonga, and for myself personally, as someone who's always been bled the black jersey, I want to try and hopefully instill or see some pride go back to the black jersey. Now, it's not bad to play for your nation of heritage. I'm not saying it is. I think it's great. We've seen some really magical moments, but I don't want people to think. I don't want players to sort of just be in that mindset where it's heritage over anything else, because I think it's so important as well to obviously represent New Zealand as well. Look, I can just talk about this very in depth. I think I'll just give you guys just a general overview. Now, in regards to what you're saying with the the Rugby League World Cup, I reckon some of the good things too is sort of seeing the nations play as well. Like we've got Jamaica, right? Jamaica, that's pretty awesome. We've got Greece, right? So we've got Greece playing, and obviously we've got Wales or back, Cook Islands. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different minnow nations, and we can't I guess undermine the importance of these test nations. Yes, obviously they're not going to be, getting 100,000 seats watching them play if they play each other, sure, but they each contribute to the very fabric of rugby league, and it's going to be good to seeing them play. Now, as to my thoughts on who will win, I think it's still pretty open-ended. What I think personally is that the Pacific Island teams, so Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, I'm definitely very wary of how Samoa's going to look, because I think they might be the underdogs. I think them. They'll have an okay halves combination, obviously Luai, but then I just think the forwards, they're back. With Tonga, obviously we've seen it before, and listen, let's not forget they've beaten Australia, right? So we can't rub that up. But I think, look, in the prime, I guess just to say, my prediction personally, I think hopefully Kiwis win it. That's what I'd like to see. But basically, for the game itself, I guess anyone but Australia. But if Australia win, that's just the way it goes. But anyone but Australia for me. But I just can't wait to see all these different teams play and see the different cultures play. Jamaican culture. Man, I think Jamaica is going to be the most followed team in the World Cup. That's what I think. Everyone's going to get on board with Jamaica. That's what I reckon. So it's going to be cool to see him play. But look, I'm just going to quickly address this one here. So Nas Williams says, got Hingango keeping up and playing with Lolo here recently in England. Well, yeah, that's right. Obviously, the Tongan halves as well, they're going to be well-versed. And I'm sure Kotoni Stags is going to be playing there as well, potentially. So they've got a healthy sort of crop there. Yeah, I can't wait for it. I think I'll probably just move on to another subject just quickly as well. And that is, look, I think you're probably dived into it. I've dived into it. Last sort of topic, Origin, Game 2. What are your thoughts? Let's hear it.
Well, look, I think, we've just seen the Queensland team announced this morning at 9 o'clock Australia time. And we've seen the New South Wales team announced yesterday, I believe. It was yesterday, last night. And, look, the Queenslanders, obviously, not a great performance in Game 1. They got everybody up there in the town, 50 points to 6. New South Wales, they absolutely tore Queensland to shreds. And the Queensland, look, I looked at their lineup today and I gave it a quick think. And look, I wouldn't say it's a great lineup, to be honest. I mean, I'm still puzzled by a few selections. Now, Kurt Capewell, I'm not sure what's going on here. Why is he still in this? I don't know. I personally don't understand that decision by Paul Green. Now, Paul Green, to me, look, when he got the Queensland Maroons job at the start, I wasn't a really big fan of it, personally. I thought they were going with someone much better. But you see what Paul Green, got sacked by North Queensland in the beginning of last year. And yes, he's had a premiership, the Cowboys, but he won that premiership with Thurston and the likes of those players in the lineup. But then after that, Cowboys didn't do any better. But back to the topic on Queensland. Now, I personally think New South Wales are favourites to win this game. They are definitely favourites. Queensland, they have to start better. They have to start better. They've got lots of Reece Walsh, which is quite interesting. They've got Reece Walsh making his debut at fullback, which I think, New South Wales will look at Reece Walsh and they'll put him under massive pressure. They'll kick him. They'll do all sorts of stuff to him to make sure he's off his game. First game as a Queensland player, and he's only 18. He's only young. I have strong views on it. I did a video not long ago talking about how I don't want him playing this year for Queensland. Yes, it's great to see him, play for Queensland, but I don't want to see him play this year. And it turns out my video was, a waste of time because he's been picked this week. He's been picked in the team. It looks like my video is just completely a waste of time. But like I said, Queensland, I really want to see Reece Walsh go well. I really wish him all the best. I hope he goes well. I really do hope he proves wrong here, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. He's only played 4 NRL games, I believe, 4, if I'm mistaken. But 4 NRL games. It's just a pressure to put on an 18-year-old going into this stage. It's a lot of pressure, and look, I can understand why they're doing it, because Queensland, they've got no Kalen Ponga. He's still out injured. Valentine Holmes, I was thinking, why is Valentine Holmes? Why do they keep him at fullback? But at the end of the day, they want to go with someone different in Queensland. But
pressure.
Look, I'm harping on here about Reece Walsh a bit here, but I want to see Reece Walsh do well. I definitely do, and I wish him all the best. Good luck to him. But going back to the whole Queensland Maroons team now, moving on from the Walsh discussion, I did a video about it, so go check it out if you guys haven't seen already.
Do so.
The Queensland Maroons, they should be massive underdogs here, and New South Wales should be favourites. I know it's at Brisbane, Suncorp Stadium. I am expecting a much better performance by the Queensland Maroons, much better performance. I'm expecting them to turn up a bit better than what they were in the first game. And look, my prediction for this one, I am going to go and pick. Oh, this is a very hard one for me. Look, I really want to go for Queensland here. I really do, and I'm going to think about doing it. But I just can't. I just can't pick Queensland. I want to pick Queensland here, but I just can't. I've got Wales. I see you're happy about it because you're a New South Wales fan, but look, I'm going to have to pick New South Wales to win. Unfortunately, I think New South Wales will win the series 2-0. They'll wrap it up going to game 3, and it's all she wrote. The series is all she wrote. Queensland will, go down, and New South Wales will win back the Shield. And at the end of the day, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Queensland get up. But my prediction is New South Wales to win game 2. I reckon they'll win it. I'm going to say they'll win it by 26 points to 18. I reckon they'll win it 26 points to 18. I reckon it'll be a lot closer than the first game. So, yeah, I'm going with New South Wales to win game 2, 26-18. And, that's my prediction for the game.
Awesome. Thank you again for sort of talking about that. Look, for me personally, I'm just going to be quick about it. Reece Walsh, I've got a video on it myself, so if you guys haven't watched it, please do so. But huge pressure to put on a young kid. It's it's do or die for Queensland here, and I'm just afraid that the psychological pressure will be too much for him. Not to say that undermines his playing skill, but it just means that I don't think he's ready for such. It's a big thing, man. This is almost similar to.
Yep.
Like NRL Grand Final, so even played that before. You're sort of rushed in there. It's a big thing. But look, personally, the way it's looking, I'm pretty confident here. I'm not going to be smug about it, but look, that's not to say though that Queensland can't do anything, right? So we've got to be wary. They're still an injured snake, and an injured snake is still dangerous. So you've got to keep that in mind. But Blues for me.
Yep.
I guess just quickly as well, before we finish it off, obviously this was about the International Rugby League sort of thing, and yeah, just quickly, just sum it up. We just spoke about the rugby league scene, international scene, and why we think it was a miss. It's a huge miss. You got the Rugby World Cup around the corner, and they're not even going to be any international games. There's no NRL. The only game is literally just one Origin game on a Sunday arvo, and that's crazy. What a huge miss for international flavor. I'm hoping this is never the case again. I hope it never happens again. But look, that sort of does our discussion. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks again for having here, bro. Any sort of last words, man?
No, not really much to say, but look, no NRL this weekend, so it's a bit of a quiet one in terms of Warriors, and look, Origin obviously next week. So yeah, there's not much to say really, but all I got to say is I hope the international game grows. I want to see it grow. Said it many times, but yeah, I mean, it's great to come on the panel and talk all things international rugby league, which I it's been a joy. It's been a great joy to chat all things international rugby league, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Nah, bro, the pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you for being good sport, and thank you for doing what you're doing and your content. And as I said before, man, I appreciate you for what you've done and what you continue to do. So thank you. Just a last little comment here from Nas Williams. Good fix of footy, chat
Yep.
fellas. Need this to keep me sane for the next couple of hours. Haha. Cheers for that. No problem. And last one here. We still got Fox here in Auckland. Go Richmond. I'm assuming that's AFL. If that's the case, yeah, sure. Go Richmond, go the Tigers. But I'm a Fremantle fan. But anyway, look, thanks again, man, for having us. Thanks again, dude, for talking. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Please feel free to comment and whatever. Watch his videos. You can subscribe to him. Please do that. Great dude. Very friendly. And he knows his stuff as well. And I think that's so important. Don't forget to subscribe to mine. Well, thanks again, guys, for viewing it. Take it easy. Go the Kiwis. Go the Blues, I guess. Go the Warriors, which is the most important thing of them all. Take it easy, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.